Well, here we are at the farm this morning. Just beginning to get everything fired up. Filling up our diesel tank here on the truck. The combine's out in the field, so it has to be filled up. One interesting thing, this old diesel pump here is the original with the farm when they got their first diesel tractor in 1969. And it's sitting out there too in the same camera shot, the Oliver 1950T. This same old diesel pump has pumped a lot of gallons. Ready to go?
Well, as soon as the tank gets full. Are you ready?
I don't know. I guess so.
Oh, about 100 gallon.
Same old pump, isn't that? That's the original old pump.
Yeah, that's been around a long time.
Probably could use a little faster pump.
Probably could.
You notice the three tanks here, and you probably would say what's in each one. This is the off-road fuel here on the left for the combine tractors, things like that. Gasoline in this one. They really don't use that much gasoline. And then this is the on-road diesel here that they use in the trucks. Here comes Brother Tom right now. Good morning.
Good morning. How you running?
You ready to get going?
Fired up, buddy. Can't get going any faster. Both feet on the grounds for me.
We got the whole crew here this morning now. First we got my brother Tom.
Howdy.
He's on his phone.
Yeah, I'm busy looking at the phone.
And we got Mr. Tech Guy Randall here. I think he's got, are you like FBI or something with all that communication stuff on your head?
I just borrowed Aaron Prince's headset.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then we got Terry who does all the work.
Yeah, I do all the work.
I go along with that.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I'm the labor man.
And then we got the Mr. Wisdom up there. He's already ready to go. He's down in the truck ready
He
to go.
said we ain't going to sell any corn down in here, are we?
Let's get going. I'm slow. I have to work longer hours than the rest of you.
Okay.
We're out of here.
Now we're pumping the diesel into the combine. Little 12-volt pump. Obviously you can hear it really loud. Actually have it hooked up to the combine battery. We just have a long cord with that. This is this black dust that gets all over everything. The mornings when they do a lot of the maintenance, there's a bunch of grease fittings that have to be greased every day. Another set that have to be greased every week. They say every 50 hours, so these guys say every week. And then another bunch that just gets greased once a season. I think there's somewhere around 50 fittings that have to be greased every day. Since Terry gets the honor of greasing these every day, I doubt he has to look at the book to figure out where they are. One on every roll then.
One on every road.
More grease fittings on this corner that have to be greased every day than is on Johnny Total. Now this corn head's not made by John Deere. It's a third-party manufacturer named Drago. Kind of an interesting trend over the last several years. Actually, these guys have a Drago corn head and they have a MacDon cutter bar or soybean head. It's kind of interesting actually that in both cases they chose to go with a non-John Deere brand. It's because of some of the features. At that time the John Deere didn't have the hydraulic fold. You can see the cylinders up there. This will fold over. The other thing is the way just some details in the way the rolls and things work that they preferred with this particular head. Dad really has a challenge getting up the steps. He is 85 now. But once he gets up there, he can go, go, go. On the little tractors, we often talk about the single point connector. Well, this is the same mechanism right here. You notice how they're made. They allow different types of connections in each of the 6 spots. This one's got 2 hydraulic hoses and an electrical. The soybean head actually has more connectors there.
Got to get the computer hooked up in here.
So this is an iPad that you hook up?
Yeah. Got 2 monitors and an iPad. That ought to be satisfactory, hadn't it?
Yeah, I think that ought to be good enough.
Oh, I'll show you my deer antler.
Interesting. Now, how did you happen to pick that up?
Well, deer shed their antlers every year,
Yeah.
and this come along, and this part of here went right in the tire,
Oh my goodness.
clear up to here. We had to saw it off. We thought maybe we could leave it in. We did leave it in a while, and then the air got to coming out through the
Through the
antler right through there. Lay your hand finger on there and you can make a whistle. I guess we saved that as a souvenir.
Well, so what'd they do? Plug the tire?
Yeah, they put a patch on the inside. Didn't have to buy a new tire, which we were glad of that.
Over $2,000, right, for a new tire?
I imagine, yes.
Wow. Looks to me like you're using your cab as a hopper again.
Can't haul enough back there.
What happens, guys, is that they get a hopper full, and if you happen to stop real quick, it'll come off the top and end up on the cab. It's hard to have the grain cart there at just the right moment. Sometimes your hopper gets full and runs over, and it's just part of it. So it looks like started on this yesterday evening. Is there, what, 160 acres here, something like that?
Well, yeah, there's a little of it out and got some trees and stuff, but there's probably 140 acres of crop here. We'll get a lot of it today.
Looks like maybe 15 of it or 20 of it maybe already shelled.
Maybe more than that. I'll look whenever I turn the monitor on.
This time get started, huh?
Well, we can shell that cart full over there. The trucks are gone to town. They probably won't be back by the time we get that done.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about on the video today was just the whole, I guess you'd call it logistics of corn harvest. Especially when you have decent corn, it's really not just about how big the combine is, for instance. It's a whole series of things that control your capacity, isn't it?
Yeah, we have one truck, a big combine. There's a combine sitting still waiting for the truck to get back after get unloaded. So we got the combine and then that grain cart, which holds the truckload, and then 2 trucks.
So,
Like
yeah, you got one extra row there to get for a little ways, don't you?
Yes, I've got to get my computers warmed up here.
Is that saying you got 37 acres already done?
36.79 on this one.
Oh, okay, I see something.
37 on that one. They vary a little bit. It's not totally accurate, but it's very close. Well, I guess I'll start her up. Let's see, we're ready to go here. This is the map. Now this one is all the field we've shelled so far. This one's in a bigger size. You can see the little combine there.
Yeah.
When we move, that little combine will turn and go down along this row here. We ridged the ground and planted the corn up on the ridge. So this is lower ground down the bottom. So we wanted to, if it rained, it's more apt to be hard on the corn. But with it up on the ridge, is why that's better.
It seems like it really hurts corn if it's really muddy right by the stalk, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For extended period in the springtime.
Now our little combine's going.
Yeah. So when you're just combining, let's say you've already got the field opened up and you can just go back and forth in good corn, what kind of rate do you think you can harvest? Can you do 1,500 bushels an hour?
Yeah, you can do that much.
And so that makes a real challenge then, doesn't it, for the trucks?
Yeah. Well, these monitors will tell us if we get on the right page
Oh, okay.
how many bushel an hour we're shelling.
So that would be 1.5 truckloads per hour.
Yeah.
And the trucks are delivering this, what, 25 miles?
Yeah, probably close to that.
So they're 25 miles one way, maybe 20, 25, something like that.
Then when they get to the terminal elevator, they sometimes have to wait several trucks in front of them. I'll talk to you a little about this monitor here while we're going through here. Here's a map of the yield. And, dark green here is 220 bushel acre, and lighter green is 200 to 220. And the yellow is 100 to 200. Our guy wants me to unload before I get to the end. Right here, 228 bushel to acre right here now.
Wow. It's no wonder he wants you to unload.
Yeah, it'll get full before I get to the end. These are about half mile through.
This is good corn right here, you can tell by looking at it.
246 right here. It's like anything else, you can get little spots where it's real good yield, but then to get the field average we're running right now is
184, I believe it says.
184 here. And this here's a little different. I think it says 182.
It sort of makes sense for our viewers. The first part that we shell is right around the edge of the field, so that we can get it open, so we can go back and forth. And right next to the edge, where there's trees and other, challenges, that's where the yield is the lowest.
Yeah, and the deer come out of the woods. They eat that first row pretty well. We have to fatten them up for harvest, too.
Yeah. So we're still unloading out here. I guess we were probably almost empty.
Yeah, we're empty now. We're all down here at the end, so I can make it back. The other end, can't unload. Going back, my auger's on the wrong side.
Yeah, we're going back and forth, so we can only unload one way.
Around there and get some more inroads this time.
Yeah, this whole, since we've been talking here, it's up to 241 average. It's been over 220, that whole range here. This is one of the best parts of the field, I would say.
Yeah, shut the auger off.
One of the neighbors harvest over there. Didn't even try to plant anything out there anymore, huh?
Generally that's for the water.
Oh no, I see the little spot out there that's planted. Yeah, so you do still try to.
Yeah, we got a little island out there. They look strange if we don't fill up this ditch and make it over again the bench road. But the Conservation Service wouldn't let me move that ditch.
Yeah, so this is that the whole wetlands issue. We haven't really talked about that on this channel, but starting sometime in the late 90s.
Late 80s.
Late 80s, okay. Sometime in the late 80s, the government began to declare wetlands, and even land that farmers were already farming and had been farming for years. They wanted to dictate whether you could farm it or not. And so that kind of prohibits some of the natural improvements that you can make to a piece of property. We've got a lot better technology and a lot more cost-effective technology as far as being able to drain good farmland like this with tile and other situations like that.
Well, sometimes what makes it hard is that the one program is made to fit all over the United States, and what fits one area don't fit the other quite as good. And when they enforce it for everybody, why it sometimes don't work out as good.
Yeah, it's hard to make general rules that apply to every situation fairly and adequately.
We have to split this field in two because a different landowner owns this down here.
So even though you farm both sides of it,
Yeah, we have
one person owns this over here, and another person owns this over here, and so we harvest them separately. Now the reason for that is just because of the way the rental arrangements are made, right? I mean, the owner gets a share of the crop.
Yeah, it's a sharecropper. We plant it all with the planter at the same time, but
When it comes time to plant, basically any charges are per acre, and so it doesn't really matter. But at harvest time, the landowner deserves exactly what their share of what's grown on their property is. So you can't really just harvest the whole field and divide it by the number of acres at that point. Farmers are pretty particular about this. I think probably some off-farm landowners might sometimes maybe question how this is handled. This is one thing farmers are pretty up and up about.
Every grain we harvest goes over the scales somewhere, either here at our home port or at a terminal elevator when we sell it. That way we know everybody gets their fair share.
And it helps you too, because you know how much a given field yields exactly, and it helps you with management in the future. Harvesting these intros is kind of difficult. They're all mixed together going in two different directions. Now there's no ridges here, right?
Yeah, there's ridges here.
Okay. Only looks like you have about, what, 6 indrows here? The rest of it you're just shelling out of.
Yeah. It was planted with 16-row planter, so there's 32 indrows. And we got a 12-row head, it shells 24 in one round, then you got the rest of them left. So to give us more room, we just run over here and catch a full width of our combine head.
Okay. The way these heads are made nowadays, it doesn't hurt too bad. You don't lose much corn, do you, going over like that?
Not really. The reason that their corn looks so thick out there, it's planted, when the planter drops down to go that way, well, it gets into this too, so we have this double planted here.
There's the property line. That on the left is one landowner, and on the right is another landowner. It's got to be a joy to shell good corn like this, Dad.
That's some of the best corn I've ever raised in all my life. Is this year. We're in southern Illinois, and we don't have the type of soil that produces a high yield as they do up in the central part of the state. This year we're doing about as good as they are, I think, in some places.
It takes just a perfect year here to have 200 bushel corn. In fact, I believe I remember the first 200 bushel you had, which was back at about 2000, 2001, and I don't believe you had any for years after that.
No, not a complete field. We had spots it was, but not the whole field average.
I also think you've got some better techniques. I think planting on these ridges has really helped.
Get more uniform plant and because the water don't drown out the little plants. That's more inroads there again.
Yeah, it's a good time to get them while the trucks are both at the elevator.
Yeah.
This is a part of that efficiency I was talking about earlier. The guy that's driving the combine needs to try to make sure that he's kind of working with the trucks at hand. And right now, he knows that both the trucks are at the elevator, and so if he were just to go out and shell out in the open, we'd soon have that auger cart full and would have to stop and wait. So it's a good time actually to work around the edges and try to get some of these indrows off, such that when the trucks are actually available, we can go faster. I think this is probably one of the most fascinating aspects to me is the logistics of how do you keep the corn away from the combine. It's even more interesting when you're going to on-farm storage because there's even more pieces to the puzzle. There's how big your auger or elevator is to get it up into the bin, and
try to be as efficient as we can at the home place so we can get them trucks back over here and get them loaded and unloaded again.
There's always a bottleneck somewhere in the process, and what you find is when you're harvesting different fields, different crops, it's good if that bottleneck changes. If it's always, for instance, delivering the crop to the home place, then you need to do something to improve, or if the combine's always behind, then you need to improve that. But when everything's optimized, you'll have a different situation that's the bottleneck.
Yeah, our situation works best when we got 4 men of doing it. 2 truck drivers, a combine driver, and then the grain cart driver. And we can get along pretty good with that situation if we don't have to wait too long to unload the trucks.
Yeah, the grain cart's another help for optimization. We didn't have that when I was a kid. I think you started that in the late 80s. Used to take the combine out to the end of the field and dump on a waiting truck.
Yeah, that takes a lot of extra time, is to stop the combine and put it on the truck.
Kind of required an extra truck too, because you had to have one sitting at the end of the field all the time. So back then you used to have 3 trucks and 2 truck drivers a lot of times.
Yes. And we didn't have as big a trucks.
But now this grain cart allows that unload on the go, so the combine is basically harvesting all the time when it's optimal.
We sure have noticed a lot easier to turn on 16, 30
yeah. But when you're shelling about 11 row width and it's saying 245 and 265, that's pretty good corn.
This thing knows it's not shelling.
Oh, it's figured it out? Well, I'll be.
Says that's not.
Now, how does it know that?
I don't know.
Oh, it's doing that from the sky, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
Now that's interesting. We can look at our map here and we can actually see the trees where we're driving around. The trees on our left. I don't know if you can see that clear or not.
Yeah, it's got feelers on the head that keeps the head in the right height. That over there got lodged up and my head come up. And I had thought it was time to raise the head.
Okay.
It's come back down now.
Okay, so the snoot got stuck upward somehow.
Yeah, the feeler did, you know.
Okay.
It thought it was on a low place.
So you don't really have to adjust the header height as it goes along. This is all automatic.
I got one that runs it kind of a little higher, and this here runs a little lower. With these ridges, I run it on this higher one all the time because the header goes down between the ridges.
You can actually run it in the ground on the ridge.
Yeah, you could pick up dirt with it. And this corn is standing good, so you don't have to worry about got it laying down, you can't get it.
So if the corn was beginning to fall over, then you'd run lower maybe.
Yeah, I'd run low as I could then.
Also, when you're going crossways of the row, it seems like having the head up a little bit helps it to keep from mashing it down.
Yeah, it does. It gives the stalk a little more chance to flex over and get into the dead. Cool made to make the bridges with the corn setting on. We couldn't find one that we liked, and so we had a local machine shop to build us one.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting because we had to do the planning and everything, engineering work on it. They did a great job, and it's a good heavy tool.
I think I've got some video of the construction of it in progress. I'm not sure if I do or not, but it was built really strong. And for those of you guys that got small tractors, you might think of it as something like a middle buster type plow, only there's 13 of them, so it goes 12 rows wide. It is 12 rows, right? 30 feet. So I think of it as 12 middle buster plows, and they have coulters in front of them to cut any weeds or anything, so they can go through some pretty heavy weeds, right? And then they throw up the ridges. Now, though, each of those plows, what are they, like 15 inches wide or something like that?
Yeah, about kind of a wing-like plow.
That sound means we have a hopper full.
That sound means we are full.
That's good news. That's sort of like that, you know, that sound on The Price is Right that I showed in a video a few days ago. That's we got a jackpot. Having a hopper full is not a bad thing. So we just have to wait for the auger cart to get here. But we still don't have a truck. And with this hopper, we'll have 2/3 of a truck harvested already.
We've got 40 acres harvested out of this field. And it's averaging 183.7 bushels dry.
So there's two factors here. It tells you what the wet yield is, and it also, since it's got a moisture sensor on it,
here's the moisture of this particular field. Grain right there, 13.7 per 73%.
it's kind of fascinating to me that the moisture is less than 15.5, and yet it's still showing less dry bushels than wet bushels.
Well, I ran into some wetter corn over there.
Okay.
Along the trees, and got some up to size 16 to 17%.
So you'll notice as soon as the tractor gets up on here, we'll get started shelling again. Okay. Dad's got a little button there on his same joystick that turns the auger on and off. Another one that swings it out. So this is kind of like digging potatoes. This is the rewarding part.
Yeah. If you don't enjoy harvest, you won't enjoy any part of farming, I don't think.
I think that's a good quote. Corn harvest is a lot of fun because there's simply so much corn. When it's yielding well, you have a lot of corn to worry about. That's sort of like a potato crop that's just yielding a lot of potatoes. I always relate it to potatoes because I enjoy growing potatoes in my garden. Unfortunately, I don't make any money growing potatoes.
Sometimes we don't make any money growing corn either.
So there's a set of scales on that grain cart so that they know how much is on the grain cart. You know, they're not accurate to the pound or anything, but they give you a rough estimate. Because otherwise it'd be hard to know how much you put on since you're going, you're harvesting while you're unloading. So you can't just count the number of hoppers or anything like that. But I'd say that scale's accurate to within, I don't know, 200 to 400 pounds, something like that.
If it's setting still at the end of the field, it's pretty accurate. But when you're on the go with it, it makes it a little bit less accurate.
But even then, probably 500 pounds maximum delta. You know, again, we're not using this to really do any serious measurement. It's just in general to estimate whether you have a truckload or not on your cart. So it's plenty accurate enough for the job. Well, we've got our first truck back this morning. I imagine as soon as he gets his tarp off,
They'll probably unload the
they'll
cart.
be unloading. But a cart won't have enough for a semi-load yet.
No, it has to be blown full. Well, almost like you'd call a heaping cart full.
It'd probably be nice to have a cart that would hold a little more than a truckload, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
A truck hold roughly 1,000 bushel.
around that, yeah.
There's 56 pound to the bushel, so 1,000 bushel would be a 56,000 pound load. Those trailers would hold a lot more than that, but that just puts you over the weight restriction, and you can't get away with that.
Oh, they check here every so often. They police have scales they put out on the side of the road. You make you drive over. If you're overweight, you get a heavy fine.
A heavy fine?
Yeah, heavy fine
I like
for
that.
heavy weight.
But it is a pretty rough fine. Of course, here in the state of Illinois, they need every bit of revenue they can get.
Yeah, that's one way of getting revenue, I guess.
Now this is a 22-inch auger here, and if the auger cart's full, it'll fill a semi-truck, I believe, in about 2 minutes. So we'll ride over there now and finish loading the truck. The auger cart's not full, but it's got enough on it to finish loading this truck. Truck's sitting right over there. It's interesting, from here I can hardly even hear the tractor. That thing runs nice and smooth. Usually what you see, if you'll notice, the tarp is rolled up on this side. The tractor driver likes to unload on the side that doesn't have the tarp rolled up. It's a little hard to see from where we are, but he'll just run this thing at idle because once you get near the end of the load, it is really hard to keep from running it over. So here comes the tarp if I don't get killed. Because I'm not in the truck. Now, isn't that the way it always is? Truck driver's always in a hurry. Here we go. Thanks very much for letting us hang out with you today, and
Thanks for coming down.
we'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.
Yeah. Yay.